But sometimes when I saw the TED, TED.
Yeah, TED Talk.
TED Talk, yeah, because I say if you know how to focus on something, just like you can use the trick and also you can speak in, yeah, that's mainly because your mindset, you can better everything control everything.
Better focus.
Yeah, focus. Yeah,
Focus.
Control.
Yeah, control everything. Maybe that ball, the weight, maybe the different weight, the ball. Yeah, you can control everything. That you use your mind, you need thinking, and also you need to control on your hands. Yeah.
Yeah, it's eye-hand coordination, thought.
Yeah.
But then I can also when I'm doing it, I have to look. But then once I get in the rhythm, then I can look at Peyton, and I can keep going.
And also you can counting it up 2 plus 2. Oh, you got 4. 2 plus oh, you can do it.
Only 3.
Hey, Jen. Hey.
Overtime today, so I can't
Really?
stop, really. I just stopped by. I just went to visit home. And you still have a terrible fruit right now.
Terrible fruit?
Like
Fruit.
流感啊，
流感.
流感。
Yeah, just the
flu.
Virus.
Flu.
Yeah, flu.
I thought you said fruit.
Fruit. If that's called fruit, you know?
And some of the classmates from conversation class told me that can they get the teaching material in advance? They want to
No.
know.
Sorry. I make them the night before, so it's not really possible for me.
Oh, sure. I was told.
I know that that's something that they want, but I'm so busy that I'm doing
course.
stuff last minute, and so I mean, it's not really possible. I don't mean it to be rude. It's just
Sure. I will let them know. They
Okay.
just asking.
okay.
You know, conversation just.
Yeah, and I know it's Tracy and
Yeah.
Louie, and Louie, so I know who it is, but I mean it's
Then they just want to be prepared.
yeah, well, and I know that they want to be prepared, but I mean, it's
It's
not much.
fine.
Yeah, it's not much that I
Hey,
can do. But
we need to sign a paper, right? So anyone bring the. Hey.
I have it. I have it.
Okay.
I have it.
Thanks.
No, it's okay. All right.
Jen.
So, let me get the paper out so you can sign for the class,
Okay.
and then
我没有带，我没带书，我怎么都没带。我跟你讲，我为什么今天我的课长，你给我，他给我的生日礼物，你看我永远都带着。上今次跳了250下，一次哦。
表示叫你来上吊，就来跳绳。
开心。
Let's go hang in there.
Okay. So for today, though, I want to make sure I'm adding everyone. I have a folder now that I can add everyone to on Google. So then you're able to get access to documents. Okay. And then I don't need to email them every week. I know I haven't been emailing them lately just because I've been a little bit busy. So if I get your emails, we got Kurt.
Yeah.
Simon? Is it Jiang or Zhang? This one? C?
CHANG. Simon.
There we go.
That's right.
Okay.
Albertson. Yeah, that's me.
Okay.
And Peyton. Peyton Ye.
Okay. Who else do we have? Is it?
Anything else?
Is it
Rainy Xie.
Rainy?
Yeah, Rainy Xie.
So Rainy,
Rainy.
Danny Wong,
Danny Wang. Yeah.
Sophia,
Sophia. Yeah.
Sophia Shi or Huang?
Sophia Huang. Yeah. IT.
Huang.
Yeah. She's HUNG.
Huang?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Sophia. Yeah. Sophia.
Yeah. Okay. And then Danny.
Danny. Danny Wen, right?
Danny Xiao.
Xiao,
show
Xiao.
他怎么叫
Which
做
one?
什么
This one. There we go.
Ah, then
Oh,
we
yeah,
see a photo. Yeah, yeah.
All right.
yeah.
Who else are we missing?
And that is 那个 bamboo
Benvo.
bamboo yeah IT
Benvo.
bamboo
เป็นโบ
bamboo king yeah yeah that is
Jackie.
Jackie yeah Jackie
Jackie Lin.
Jackie Lin yeah and that
And Zoe.
Zoe
Zoe Wu.
oh yeah oh
他怎么设定出
ah
来？
Nina really Nina yeah
Nina Ye.
yes yeah
Who else?
who else Tell me your name.
Nico
Nico oh
Nicole Chen.
Chen Nico Chen
呃
Then we
，Jane
got
Jane
Jane.
James Jenny
Then we already got Danny.
Amy,
We already got Amy. Amy's gone.
Amy she yeah she's gone yeah
Amy, and that's it.
that's it yeah
Okay. All right.
哎，
how about
艺术部那个小学那个
哦的就那个 Jackie 跟那个
Jackie 跟
Jackie 跟 Zoe
Zoe，
and anything else here is the PowerPoint file
What up?
press yeah
Eileen.
Eileen
Is she in writing?
Yeah,
Yeah.
on an email list.
Okay.
Irene
Eileen.
Eileen
Eileen
oh full service
service
full service yeah she full service secretary Irene yeah
爱玲
yeah anyone at the Taipei American School with a link can
Maggie
view
Wang. Maggie Wang is edit.
Huh?
Maggie Wang on the list.
Who?
Maggie Wang
Maggie
is on the list.
But I don't know if Maggie has been in the class. Maybe she dropped. I don't know.
yeah 他有在上面那张 sign 那个 paper 吗？有在那个 sign paper 上面吗？上面有那个
Yeah.
Maggie Wang
Did she sign?
World language.
Okay.
Is she coming?
I don't know. Has she ever signed?
ever sign? No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Let me see.
Maggie.
Maybe
Maggie.
world language. She always absent.
Maggie.
Maggie yeah.
Maggie Chang.
Wang.
Wang Wang. Maggie Wang
看过吗？
W
没来上过
I saw her this afternoon. But
Okay.
I don't sure. I'm not sure if she's coming or not. Maggie.
Maggie yeah.
Is it transportation? Hello.
I don't know.
All right.
No. Please check each week for the new file and okay.
Can I remove it?
Block apps. What's this? Pause. App block. Pause. App block.
Pause, yeah, pause. This is logo. And then reload this page. Do you see any difference?
Hey, look at that. It works.
Okay.
Okay. So comma use. That's something that's important, right?
Yes.
It's too bad Danny's not here because this was his question.
Okay.
But basically, this is going to talk about comma use. Like we know basic use of commas, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like after this or that sort of thing. So I wanted to talk about when to use it. So it says using a comma before any coordinating conjunction. So a coordinating conjunction, and, but, for, or, nor, yet, so, right? Fanboys, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So before a coordinating conjunction, as long as it's linking two independent clauses together. So what's an independent clause?
Independent.
independent clause. A clause is a group of words.
Mm-hmm.
So an independent clause can do what? An independent clause is basically a sentence that can stand alone by itself. Right? A clause, a grouping of words. So a clause an independent clause would be something that has a subject and a verb and maybe an object, right? So, I went to the store, right? So this is an independent clause.
Yeah.
It can stand alone by itself,
Yes.
okay? Now, we also have something called a dependent clause.
Dependent.
So you could say like, I went to the store and home, or and then home,
And home.
right? Now you don't need a comma here,
Okay.
right? Because and then home, is that an independent clause? If you wrote that as a sentence by itself,
And then at home.
and then home, does that make sense?
No.
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 There's no subject,
Yeah.
there's only an object,
Object.
and there's no verb.
Verb.
Right? So this is a dependent clause. A dependent clause means that it needs an independent clause. An independent clause can stand by itself. So, if you have two independent clauses plus a coordinating conjunction, right? We know coordinating conjunctions.
Coordinating.
So it's for and nor,
No,
but,
but
or,
or
or yet,
Yet.
so,
So,
right? Those are coordinating conjunctions.
coordinating conjunction.
still coordinating. Yeah. 协调.
Right? So coordinating conjunctions, if it's linking two independent
Close.
clauses together, then you need a comma. If it's linking an independent clause with a dependent clause, you don't necessarily need a comma. So if the independent clause comes first, then you don't need one. So if you said, I went to the store, that's okay. But it was closed. Then we have two independent clauses, right? Because it was closed
Was closed.
can stand by itself,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It can make a sentence by itself. We have it as the
It
subject, was
was
as the verb,
verb.
and closed also the verb, right? Okay? So, basically, when you have two independent clauses joined by a coordinating conjunction, right? We have our coordinating conjunction here, and we have
But
one independent clause and two independent clauses. This becomes a compound sentence,
Yeah.
and you need a comma, right? Okay?
Mhm.
So, it's not a complex sentence, compound sentence. Compound sentence means taking two sentences, putting them together,
Yes.
combining them, right? Okay? Complex would be an independent with a dependent clause, right? So like I said before, I went to the store and then home.
Home.
And then home is a dependent clause, so it needs that first part. Okay, so that's a complex sentence. Alright? So, alright, I went running and I saw a duck, right? Those are two separate, I know this is kind of small,
Yeah.
but those are two separate independent
Independent
clauses
clause. Yeah.
joined by coordinating conjunctions. So that's how we know that we need a comma,
Comma.
right? Sometimes with because you need a comma, sometimes you don't.
Yeah.
Okay? If it's two independent clauses, then because needs a comma in front of it. If it's blah 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 because blah blah blah,
Yes.
and it has two independent clauses, then you need the comma. If it's an independent clause because blah blah blah, but that's a dependent clause, then it doesn't need a comma. Do you understand that? Just like with this, okay? So here we have two independent clauses, right? I went to the store can be one sentence, it was closed can be one sentence, okay? So, I mean, it wouldn't make sense if it said, I went to the store because it was closed, but the same sort of idea, right? Okay, I think because is more common for us to decide, oh, do we need a comma, do we don't need a comma, okay? Alright, so, if it is two independent clauses joined by a coordinating conjunction, then we need a comma before the coordinating conjunction. Well, it's working, but it's not scrolling for me. Alright, no worries. So, number 2. Now, the second one is if you use a dependent clause to start the sentence. So a comma is used after a dependent clause is starting a sentence. So here, when I went running, I saw a duck. Okay? When I went running is a dependent clause because it has a question word in the front of it. Right? When I went running, question mark. Well, that doesn't really make sense. It's incomplete. When I went running Saturday, when I went running what? Okay, there's incomplete information.
Yes.
So I saw a duck is independent. Okay? So if it starts the sentence with a dependent clause, you need a comma. Okay? So, for example, that should be a capital T. This Tuesday, comma, I ate pizza for dinner. Okay? This Tuesday, well, we have a subject, but we don't have a verb, we don't have anything, right? So it's a dependent clause. Okay? So then we need to do a comma if it's starting the sentence. Now, if you say, I ate pizza for dinner this Tuesday,
yeah.
do you need a comma after dinner?
No.
No, because it's not starting the sentence.
Yes.
When it starts the sentence, that's when you need the comma. Okay? So when the dependent clause starts the sentence. Okay? Now, this says, use commas to offset appositives from the rest of the sentence. Okay? And a positive is basically another noun next to a noun. Okay? Peyton, the guy in the blue jacket, was sitting quietly in class. Okay? So we have Peyton, the guy in the blue jacket, was sitting quietly. Now, the appositive, basically you have a noun and then you have another noun that's talking about the same noun, but it's to help clarify, right? It's to help give extra information so you know. So maybe there's 2 Dannys in this class. Danny, the male student, was raising his hand. Okay, so we know that it's this Danny, not the other Danny who's not here, right? Okay? So that's called an appositive. So the guy in the blue jacket is an appositive. And it's separated by commas because it's giving extra information and it happens right after the noun. Okay? So you could say, I was talking to Peyton, comma, the guy in the blue jacket, and he said, blah, 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 right? Okay? So an appositive is basically a noun that's given next to a noun, right? Okay? So it says appositives act as synonyms. Synonym, do you know what a synonym is? Words that have the same meaning. So like
Same meaning.
222.
mad, angry.
Angry, yeah.
No, not 222. That's different.
Oh,
That's a homophone.
Homophone.
So it sounds the same, but it's spelled different, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay? So mad and angry, those are synonyms.
Synonyms.
Right? They mean the same thing.
Yeah.
They're slightly different. You know, it's mad and then angry, right? It's more with angry, right?
Yeah.
Okay? But with this, we're not talking about I was mad, comma, angry. No, that doesn't make sense, right? But this, Peyton and the guy in the blue jacket are the same thing. It means the same
Yeah.
person, but you have to separate it by
In
commas.
comma, yeah.
Okay? Because in our speech pattern, I just don't say Peyton, the guy in the blue jacket. I say Peyton,
Yeah.
the guy in the blue jacket was sitting quietly in class, right?
Yeah.
Okay? Because that's the way the speech pattern goes. So
Yeah.
that's what shows the pause.
Pause.
Okay?
Yeah.
Separating it from the sentence. Okay? So, like for example, here it says a mallard, comma, a kind of duck,
Yeah.
comma, attacked me.
Yeah.
Okay? So it separates that little bit of information from the sentence and helps clarify what you're talking about. Okay? Store, but stopped. I was walking to the store but stopped. That's an independent, or that's a dependent clause, right? Because if you were to write but stopped or stopped, it doesn't make any sense by itself, right? There's no information. So here, I was walking to the store could become its own sentence. So here, even though we have but in the sentence and we have a comma, it's because it was closed can be its own sentence. So that's how you know in those types of sentences when you're making a compound or a complex. So this is a compound,
Compound sentence.
and this is a complex sentence.
Yeah, yes.
Okay? Just like a compound word, homework, homework.
Work.
Put them
Compound
together,
together.
homework, right?
Yeah.
Compound. Alright? So, does that make sense for sentences, Danny? Does that answer your question? Okay. Alright, I know I went into a little bit more detail than needed, but I'd rather go into more detail than not enough. Alright. So, maybe that will give you a good idea for your writing. Alright? Do you have your notes and everything? I forgot once again to get lined paper. I'm so forgetful. I'd forget my head if it wasn't attached to my body. Okay? So, for the rest of the time, the last 20 minutes, I want you to continue working on your story idea. All of you were here except for Albert, so Albert, you'll just join with Kurt for today.
Yes.
And it looks like Danny did all the work.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So you can use this for reference, but I want you to try and come up with something that you can do on your own. You have your notes there? Is this notes?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you need more paper, oh, no more paper. Is that paper? No, that's something else. Okay. Well, do you all have paper that you can use? Okay. Alright, good. Alright, so I'm going to go around group to group for the remainder of the time to continue writing your stories, okay? So, what we were doing, Albert, was here. I'll show you basically what I wanted to do. So for you,
Creative writing.
yeah, we're doing a creative writing exercise because I know business writing can be very boring after
Yeah, yeah.
time after time, right? So I wanted to, let's see, perfect. All right, I'll grab a chair and I'll sit down over here.
Okay.
Okay. So I kind of talked about this. I wanted to just do a little bit of creative writing with you all. Okay? So it's a free writing exercise that I want you to try out. And it's paired, so that way you can work with
Work
each other
together,
and
yeah.
work on ideas, right? And then don't stress out about grammar, because we're going to be doing like revisions. So this will be done over the next, since it's so few, the last 2 classes, I think I'll extend it one more class, so it'll be the next 2 classes. So I'll do a little bit of grammar, and then we'll continue on with the writing of it. So don't stress out about grammar as you're writing the draft. Just try and write down what you think is right, and then we'll go through and we'll do corrections as we go.
Okay.
And so the topics, the one that Kurt and Danny chose was a real event that happened, was it? Or was it you and your partner are going to teach a class for the day? Was it teaching the class? Right? Wasn't that what you were going to do? It was teaching Chinese class or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Kurt and Danny chose you and your partner are going to teach a class for the day. What will you teach and why? And describe what you will do in class. So you need to think of what you're going to be teaching. Maybe you're teaching
Mathematics.
whatever the topic is. You can choose, right?
Okay.
And I think you chose Chinese to teach Chinese,
Yeah.
right? And so
Danny? Danny, sure.
yeah, but I think she didn't write this in the right way. So I want this to be about you teaching the class. So pretend that you're teaching the class. She wrote this about me coming to teach, or to learn and teach. So I think this is a little bit different than what we need, that I wanted you to do for this topic. What I want you to do for the topic is, he was talking about how he watches me teach English, so he was wondering what it would be like for him to teach someone like me
To also
Chinese.
learn Chinese.
Yeah, so what that would be like. And I think that's a perfect way to approach it. So think
Yeah.
about one day in class
Okay.
for learning, for like you're teaching to someone. So, well, maybe you can read through this. Maybe she's pretending that I'm the student and she's teaching me.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, she's teaching. Okay.
Yeah. So just talk about that with each other and come up with what happened during that class period. Okay.
Okay.
So what were you teaching? Maybe you were teaching, I don't know, email writing, or maybe you were teaching how to greet someone in Chinese, but then the student didn't understand and
Okay.
kept saying something wrong.
Okay.
Right? Saying like, "Oh, you're a bird," instead of
Mm-hmm.
hello,
Hello.
right?
Okay.
Ni hao instead of
Yeah.
niao.
Now, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, think about that, and then they did some brainstorming and talked about it.
Yeah.
And then try to use something from the class that you've learned so far. I know it's business writing, but see if you can include that somehow. And then you need to include an idiom. Okay. And then it needs to be in the first person point of view, so the story is being told from your perspective, right? And then you must have a resolution. So I like saying that there's a conflict, there's a problem that you're having in the story. Okay? So maybe it's the students being difficult. They're standing on their desk, throwing things around the classroom. Well, I don't know. Okay? And then you have to come up with the resolution.
Okay.
Okay?
当这个中文老师教什么，然后怎么写啊？
Okay. How's it going?
上个
You're stuck. All right. What are you stuck
我想
on?
要写一个就是就像 Mate 在教我，
For what?
那
For
我
what
把它
part
反
of
过
it?
来，就是在一堂课里面
I want to see what you have so far. All right.
要
So
怎么
you
去
have
教
the
一个我看
Maserati,
不懂中文的外国人，
Honda SUV, the big black dog.
大概这个意思。
Okay.
然后
Other parents waiting for kids. Okay. Don't
然后
get
他
too
说
many
要有几个
characters in the story.
要素，
All right.
就
So
是
try to because you're going to be having it from like Simon's point of view, right, or something like that. Like he witnessed this
什么
happen.
状况，对对。
Well, it's got to be
然后
from first
他
person,
的解决之道
right? So
是
someone has to be telling the
最后
story.
会怎么样？
So you can have that as description, but don't get too much in. You could say, and other parents were standing there watching. That's all you need to include on that. You don't
因
need
为
to
他
say
那个
the
电
other
话，
parents
他
in their
他有四
Mercedes,
个
and
电
it's,
池
it's too much
让我
information.
们
So
选
for them,
就我们
there's
上
no
礼拜是觉
background.
得第四个比较好写，
Yeah, and so you can say,
这个套路
parent one, we'll give them names. So instead of parent one, parent two. So maybe you could say Mrs. blah blah blah, Mrs. Chen was doing this, and then Mr. Zhang was doing this, right? Or whatever it is, okay? Because then it'll be easier than saying parent one and parent two, and parent one and then parent two. Okay? Calling up these, okay? So it seems like you have enough information here to start kind of writing the idea. Okay, so set the setting first. First thing you should always do is set the setting in the introduction paragraph. And that goes for everyone. The first thing to do when you're telling a story is you don't just start telling it. I mean, yes, you can start telling it. But a lot of times stories will always set the setting of where you are. Maybe it's from Simon's point of view as a security guard, and it's, so there I was, a beautiful sunny afternoon, about to enjoy my day, or about to get off work when I heard it. Bam! And I turned around, and there they were, right? It sets the setting. People know that you're standing there in a parking lot, it's a sunny day, you're feeling good, and then all of a sudden, oh, right? So set the setting first. Try to do that first, but you don't need to say, I was standing there in the parking lot on a sunny afternoon, and it was about 37 degrees, and then I felt the sneeze coming on, but then I was okay. You don't need to do too much, right? But just set the setting first. Do maybe a paragraph of just letting people know where they are, and then get into the problem. So the first one's setting the setting, second paragraph, setting up the problem, third paragraph, trying to figure out the problem, fourth paragraph, finishing, solving the problem. Okay? So I'll write this up on the board. It'll help. Alright, set the setting in the first paragraph. Okay? That's always the best thing to do. You set up where things are happening, what's going on, so people know what they're going to read. Okay? If you just say like, and they were arguing with each other and I didn't know what to do, so I walked up and said, well, first off, where are we? Why are they arguing? What's going on? Right? We don't have anything to go on. Sometimes stories are good when they start like that because it grabs your attention. But a lot of the times they'll do that, but in a way that they still set the setting. They still let you know where, when, the feeling, the mood. Okay? Alright? And then, the second paragraph, set up the problem. Okay? It was a long day and I walked into my last class of the day. The students were sitting, waiting for class to begin. And then it happened. First paragraph, it set the setting. We know we're in a classroom. We know that the teacher was feeling good, walked in, the kids were all sitting around, and then it ends that paragraph, and then it happens. Uh-oh, well, what happened? Gives us like, ooh, something more. Ooh, tell me more, right? Then we know the next. One of my biggest troublemakers in the class threw something across the room, right? And it struck another student. That student got angry, stood up, and started running over towards the other student. I had to think fast, right? So we know that there's a problem because one student, I walked into the class, I'm feeling good, and then all of a sudden I see something flying across the room, hits another student, that student gets up, runs over. We know that it's not a good situation. And then I had to think fast, okay? So that sets up the next thing. And then the third paragraph. Okay? Third paragraph then is, how are we dealing with the problem? well, I'm upset because Danny had made fun of me this morning because I got a bad score in my math class. Okay, well then it sets up what the problem is, and then it's so then I'm dealing with talking with them, getting in between them, trying to make them sort it out, right? Then, so that's dealing with the problem, and then the final fourth paragraph is the resolution. Okay, the resolution of the problem. So maybe after that, after 20 minutes of discussion and figuring out why Bobby was really upset, not over the fact that Danny made fun of his test score, but the fact that he got a bad test score. Danny apologized for making fun of Bobby. They shook hands and went back to their seats. I had 30 minutes until I could get out of there and go home to see my puppy. Right? The end, right? And it gives it a nice little conclusion. Okay? So, now, I know that was very short and it was really more like 5 or 6 sentences that I just said there. But it gives you an idea of how to structure the story, right? A little bit better idea.
Yeah.
Okay? So, first things first, set the setting. Figure out where the setting, the time of day, the feeling that you have. Because you're telling it in first person, so you're going to be able to talk about the feeling.
Yeah.
I was really happy. Instead of saying, he had a big smile on his face and looked like he was dancing through the hallways as he walked to his class. You don't need to tell it in that perspective. You don't need to let the reader guess how they're feeling. You can say, because there's internal dialogue, when you're happy, you're like, I'm in a good mood. Right? So you can say it. You can spell it out. Okay? So think about those things. And this will be very similar to maybe writing a report. If you're ever having to write an email that's talking about, oh, we're having an issue. Well, here's the setting. This is why this issue is happening. This is the issue that's happening. This is how we're dealing with it, and this is the way we're going to resolve it, right? But this is a more fun way of writing it than trying to think of some boring business lingo, okay? It just teaches you, like, think about it this way. Do you think that in English class in 8th grade, they're teaching the students how to write professional business email? No. They're teaching them this. They're teaching them creative writing.
Oh, creative
Okay?
writing. Yeah.
The reason why is it teaches them, and it's not only creative writing, there is research papers and stuff like that, but it teaches them the structure, how to think through the flow of logical thought, which will then lead into business writing eventually. Okay? So, and don't think that it has to be this big long novel. Each paragraph, if it has like 2-3 sentences, that's fine. Okay? So even if you have 2 sentences per paragraph, that means that you have 8 sentences. If you have 3, that means that you have 12.
12. Yeah, 12 sentence.
8 to 12 sentences, that's not much. Right? Now we only got 4 minutes left, but that's okay. Because we're going to spend more time to work on this. Okay? Sorry, I keep walking. We need to design like a special one. Get some kids to 3D print something that has like motion tracking that follows me as I walk. How's yours going? The changing the teacher's account issue? Okay. How's it going? think this is good. You have good information here, but you don't have a setting. It just jumps right into this problem. So maybe first set it up as like, I was drinking my coffee as I walked into the office in the morning when my boss said, "Hey Sophia, come over here." And it doesn't need to be Sophia, it could be Steve, it could be Betty, whatever. "Come over here. I have something that I need you to do." As I walked over there, I could already tell what he wanted me to do. He had a stack of files, and they were the files that needed to change the information in the system. My day was already going down. Right? It sets the mood. It sets the setting that you're in the office. It gives you an idea of who's telling the story, right? So think about that. Okay? Good. Good. You're setting the setting. Now talk to each other. Don't just start writing and doing the whole thing there, buddy. Okay? So make sure you're talking to each other. I'm glad that you're working on it, but make sure it's a group effort.
Yeah.
Okay? Don't just go home and next week have something typed up 100%, okay? It's good. I'm glad she did it.
Yeah.
But
Can you read it?
How to teach foreigners speak Chinese during the
Chinese New Year's Eve reunion. Yeah, because we want to teach the foreigner in our Chinese New Year's Eve the reunion. Maybe you don't know what is the red envelope, right?
a home.
Yeah, hongbao. Yeah.
But you're teaching that to, okay.
Yeah. We just teach the foreigners.
Okay.
They're just like we have many dishes that
Okay.
mean everything because you have a long.
Okay, well let's see what you have here. You said we all know Chinese New Year is a very important festival in Taiwan. The best part will be the Chinese New Year Eve reunion if foreigners want to participate. Okay, this is great information for the middle, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's jump to the topic. I'll show you what the meaning. Okay, this is good, but I think first you should say set the setting. So you're obviously teaching the class. So how would you set the setting of a class, Kurt? How would you say that? How would you say to someone to let them know in the story that they're in the classroom, they're coming into the class, they're teaching? So when I'm coming in, if I were to tell a story, just like I told you before, I was walking into the classroom. It was my last class of the day, and I was excited. I had 40 minutes left before I could get out and enjoy my weekend, right? The sun was shining through the window. I had a smile on my face, and then it happened, right? So it doesn't need to be as dramatic as that, but maybe you could say something like, "This was my first day to teach about a subject I really enjoyed to my Chinese language students," right? And then you say it was about Chinese, a topic about Chinese music. And then you could say it's always been my favorite since I was a little kid because of one little thing.
Yeah.
But don't tell what that little thing is yet, right? You just say because of one little thing, period. Then you start talking about this.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
So it sets the setting of like, oh, the teacher's coming in, they're excited to teach for the day, right? And then it goes into this.
Okay.
And that gives information. Okay, so figure out how you want to say that first paragraph. Letting them know that the teacher's walking into the classroom, getting ready, okay?
Okay.
So, alright, we're done with class. Alright? So, over the week,
Yeah.
the only homework that I'm going to give you is to maybe make some notes on your writing about the setting. Really try to figure out how you want to talk about the setting. Think about that. Think about your introduction. Okay? And then when we come back next week, the first part of class, I'll talk about introductions, I'll talk about setting, I'll talk about describing that sort of stuff. And then we'll get into, I'll give you more time because I know I was talking about the comma thing for a little bit. Okay? But I'll give you more time to work on the writing. Alright? Okay.
Good.
好，你第二次我才听懂。
Good.